I walked
Bro,
down
that thing
the dark
doesn't even
stairwell.
have rails.
Once in a while, I looked at the open part, and this time, I saw a shadow figure looking out.
Hank Hill? Alright guys, welcome back for another video, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome to part 6. Like I said, no brakes, man. We got my foot on the gas and the other foot on the throat.
It's a scary paranormal story that
this.
happened to me in my sophomore year in college. It still gives me creeps and scares me to this day. It's a true story.
Oh yeah?
Trust me. As New Year has just begun,
That's
I
cap.
moved into the apartment.
I don't believe it.
It's a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms. Me and my housemate got our own rooms. Everything seemed nice and got along great for the first week. I would often wake up to sounds in the middle of the night coming from the kitchen, since my room was the closest to it. I always assumed it was my roommate having a late-night snack. After the second week,
chips.
he told me that he was actually going to drop the university because he didn't feel so well physically and was kind of homesick. I was sad that he had to go, but I was a little excited thinking that I had the apartment to myself and wouldn't hear his midnight munchies. And that night, I woke up to noise from the kitchen again. I was a bit confused because I was the only one in the apartment. I was alone now.
Yo, they go into your room, bro.
I then went to investigate.
You better hope that's locked.
And found a knife on the floor in the kitchen. I put it back in the drawer and went back to bed, thinking it might have fallen from the counter. A few nights passed and I didn't hear a sound, except for this night. I heard some sounds coming from my closet. It was about 3 a.m. and then I just felt a coldness around me, and my hair was standing up on my whole body when I woke up to see my closet. Suddenly I saw a dark figure standing next to the closet.
Oh, I thought that was
like a Dementor from the Harry Potter movies, but it disappeared in a few seconds. I figured I was having a wild imagination. The next day, I felt tired from all my classes, so when nighttime fell, I knocked out in my bed. That night was the night I would never forget. I remember waking up to some noise coming from behind me. I woke up and I realized that I couldn't move. All I could move were my eyes.
Oh,
I was laying in bed in fear. My heart
That's
started
sleep
to thump
paralysis.
really hard. I felt a cold air
think it's
behind
scary,
me. I felt
man.
This person coming closer, but I couldn't hear any footsteps.
And there's nothing you could do about it.
That's when I realized the bed was shaking viciously, but it wasn't because of me.
Man.
I tried to see at the corner of the room and I saw the dark figure from the other day. This time it had red eyes, like those of the devil. My heart sank when I saw it.
Predator.
Although I wasn't a strong believer in God until that moment, I closed my eyes and started to pray to God to help me. I started to remember my parents and friends. That's when I felt the figure
And
stop.
his life is flashing
I just kept
before his
thinking of
eyes.
everything that made me happy and praying to God to help me.
GG,
And finally,
that's it,
I felt
bro.
the dark figure leave the room, retreating back to its corner.
Someone gets so religious when they're
After
about
5
to die.
minutes, I was able to move my body. I decided to go sleep at my neighbor's apartment for the night as I ran away as fast as I could run. I eventually moved out of that apartment by the end of the month. And now I'm always wondering if those things are what made my housemate leave. Needless to say, I'm glad I moved out.
Thing was creepy. I met a creepy guy laying down at the street. Was he dead?
I'm a nurse, and I was driving home from work one night. The roads were deserted, and it was freezing that night. I don't live far from work, maybe a couple of miles. I'm driving down a residential street around the corner from my house, and I see a man laying face down in the street. Once again, I'm a nurse, so my first thought was great. Gotta help this guy.
For real.
I was coming off of a long shift and falls happen all the time. As I slowed down the car, I suddenly realized what an idiot move it was. I'm a 100-pound woman and I don't carry a weapon. I thought I should do something to help this guy, so I called 911 as I drove past him and slowed to a stop at the end of the block.
Don't turn off the
While
car.
I was stopped at the light, I explained to the dispatcher that there was a man in the road who might need assistance. All of a sudden, I hear a loud bang, bang from the driver's side window. I screamed and I looked over. A man was pounding on my window and jiggling the handle of my locked door. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw that there was no man laying in the street anymore. Still on the phone with 911, I screamed, "I'm so scared," to the dispatcher and floored it through the red light. I quickly told him what had happened, and even though I was right by my
hit
house,
the gas.
he told me to keep driving. After a few minutes, I had calmed down, and he told me to loop back around. I pulled over down the road from my house, and
This
I
man
stayed
said
in the
loop
car.
back around.
I didn't see the man anywhere,
man, I'ma keep
so I
going
got off the phone
straight.
with the dispatcher, who told me he was sending a police car to cruise the area. As I gather up my things, I do a final scan of the area, and I see the man. He's walking with two other men. I hunched way down in my car until they were further down the road, then bolted into my house. I don't know
That
if
was
he had
near
ill
your
intent,
house?
but it freaks me the hell out that he wasn't alone. Just always, always lock your doors.
Facts. People driving their door unlocked in the highway too. True horror story about my friend's apartment.
This story happened when I was in the 9th grade. I was going home after being at my friend's apartment. He's one of my good friends, so I often visited him. It was about 9 p.m. at night. Usually I went home at 5 or 6 when I visited him, but it was final exam week, so I went home later than usual to prepare for it together. He lives on the 15th floor. I took the freight elevator down because it was quicker than the passenger elevator. The elevator is kind of old, shaky, and not really well maintained. The fan isn't working, the walls are rusty, full of graffiti, and the light flickers, as you would expect.
Yo, they have fun in the elevator, man.
At the moment, there were 3 or 4 people with me going down to the lobby. The elevator went down normally. Then, suddenly, at the 9th floor, the door opened. I saw one of my other friends. Her name is Billy. She was playing, laughing with some kids who I assumed to be her friends. Then she looked at me and smiled. I stared at her for a moment, but I didn't reply to her because, well, we're not that close. Nothing came to mind to say. So the elevator closed back up and
My
took me to
dog
the
trying
lobby.
to get right.
But soon, I realized that no one that was on the elevator with me seemed to notice those kids, despite the loud laughter they made. But once again, I didn't care about it, so I went back home and rested. The day after, I saw Billy again. Out of curiosity, I asked her, "Hey, why were you playing so late at night? Why didn't you stay at home?" She looked confused, as if I was asking her a random question. She then asked me, "Well, what do you mean? I didn't go anywhere yesterday. I was at my house." I was a bit confused, and I couldn't believe what she just said.
Yeah, you were seeing stuff.
She then asked me again, "Well, what was I wearing yesterday?" I answered, "You wore a white t-shirt, right?" I was hoping that she would say yes, but she said no.
Damn.
felt
Wrong
my
girl,
heart
bro.
dropping.
Wrong girl. Or you just seeing
If it
stuff.
wasn't her that I saw last night,
That's not even white. That's great.
then who? A few days later, as usual, I was visiting my friend and went home late again. I waved goodbye to him as I was walking the corridor. One thing came to mind. How am I going to get down? Remembering those elevator things, I took the stairs.
Why did you just take the regular elevator,
Well,
bro?
I guess it wasn't a really good decision, but at least better than that scary elevator. I walked
Bro,
down
that thing
the dark
doesn't even
stairwell.
have rails.
Once in a while, I looked at the open part, and this time, I saw a shadow figure looking out
Hank
from
Hill?
the balcony across.
Oh.
It seemed normal
I thought
to
it
me,
was Hank,
probably
bro.
a person looking down, so I kept on walking.
Keep walking, bro. Don't
Watching
turn
my
back.
step, I looked
Don't
back
turn
up
back.
again, and suddenly,
Don't turn
the
back.
shadow figure thing disappeared
Don't
into
turn back,
nowhere
bro.
in just a blink of an
Like the
eye.
video game. Keep going.
I was so scared, thinking about how the hell did that guy disappear that
Don't worry
quickly?
about it, bro. Just
By
keep going.
jumping down
Don't
the
turn
balcony?
back.
My steps went quicker, but to my astonishment, I saw the sign 8th floor, which means I saw that figure when I was on the 9th floor. That same floor that I witnessed the ghost Billy. Soon I called my friend and told him about it. He was surprised and told me that a lot of people also said that the 9th floor is actually haunted. There was once a guy that died there, but was found rotting in his apartment room 3 days later.
I encountered a creepy jeepney. Jeepers Creepers?
Hi,
What?
I live in a
I don't
city
know.
of Philippines. This incident happened to me a while ago, but it reminded me forever and ever. That day, I was staying outside for some schedule, and it was kind of late, so I thought that I have no choice but to take a jeepney, which is a public vehicle in the Philippines, to ride back home. The street was pretty quiet.
Oh, okay. They
as
got
I saw
something
one
similar
jeepney
to
was
that
going
over
to pass
here,
through,
and it's
so I
free.
waved my hand.
It's called a
And
trolley.
when I just entered a jeepney, my eye directly reached a woman besides the driver's seat.
Yeah, and then
The
there's
woman
like
looked
wooden
asleep
seats.
beside the driver, and for her head is resting at his shoulders.
She was
So I
topping
thought that
him
woman
for
was a
sure.
girlfriend of the driver.
She was
I sat to
topping
behind
him,
side,
bro.
and
Yeah.
in my front view of my seat, there was an old man, so there were only 4 passengers during that time. The inside of jeepney was quiet. Nobody was talking, and I didn't any pay attention to others. And that was the most worst things happened. When the jeepney have traveled for a few meters more, then the old man who was in front of me suddenly asked the driver to stop the vehicle and dragged me outside. At the first time, I didn't recognize what was going on. Then I was just scared of his sudden behavior, so I shouted, "Stop it!" He had no replies for a few seconds. Then he replied, "Shh, trust me." Still confused, but I quickly followed what he said because I'm very nervous
Why?
that time and don't know what should I
Why?
do. My mind was almost blew up. I kept thinking, what if he was going to steal something kill me? What should I do? When we already have left the jeepney, he stared me and finally told me with calm voice that the girl who was beside the driver's seat was already dead.
Whoa.
I could not believe what was he saying. Then he said again, I saw with my own eyes.
How?
Her lips and nails were already black, and her waist have an ice pick stabbed on it and full of blood. I was shocked.
But on those things, they
If I
don't
didn't
have
follow
like
that old
doors
man,
on
so
the
I didn't get
passenger
off,
side,
what
so
would
she
be
could
the
have seen it
next?
something.
The old man left behind me and said again, "You should be careful next time." After that day, when I get on jeepney, I always pay attention abnormally.
True.